be with you in this room. This is the room where Congregation Beth Ohr celebrates Shabbat, and we have about this size of community every Friday night. Well, more or less. We are very pleased to be here. It's an unusual relationship with this Unitarian church, and as you heard, we've been in this congregation for 40 years. Part of the main work that I've been involved with for the last 10 years is working with the revival and the renewal of Polish Jewry. When I visited Poland in 1985 with my mother, and we went to her hometown, I could not have imagined that someday I would be back in Poland on a regular basis. That someday, and I think this is something that I want all of you to feel, because the sense within the Jewish community was there would be no more life in Poland. Since 1989, since the fall of communism, there has been a tremendous revival. I'll talk about what Beit Polska, the national Polish group of progressive Jews, is doing, but just for a moment, because the details are wonderful and fascinating, and every one of you got a flyer with an envelope in it, and you know what to do with the flyer and with the envelope. First of all, we have created 10 communities in Poland. The flagship, Beit Warszawa, and 3 other congregations. They are small congregations, but they are viable, they are growing. We've created 6 chavarot. And as the fundraisers say, if we had the money, we would have as many as 20 communities in Poland. There is something that we did not account for, and that is there is a yearning, a hunger, and a curiosity amongst people who have a Jewish connection, people who have a grandparent or a cousin or someone that is Jewish and are curious to know more. We estimate, the statisticians estimate, not the fundraisers, the statisticians estimate that there are between 100,000 and 200,000 people in Poland with one Jewish grandparent. Now, that could mean nothing. All those people could disappear. But it could mean something depending on what we are ready to do to help that life grow. Beit Polska now has 5 rabbinic students. One person has actually finished the program at Jewish Theological Seminary. You've met Menachem Mirsky, who's a first-year student at the American Jewish University. There's a student who will finish in 2 years from the Geiger College in Germany. These are people who were born in Poland and who speak Polish, and quite frankly, our success with English-speaking rabbis has been so-so. You need to have Polish-speaking leadership. The 4th person, who is just going to be beginning their rabbinic program, is a young woman from Ukraine. About 1 million refugees have left Ukraine and have moved to Poland. And that fact means that there is an opportunity for us to connect with those Jews from the Ukraine. Very interesting moment. This young woman will be a first-year student at Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem. And finally, we have one wayward young man that will be joining us this summer and probably will apply to HUC, either Hebrew Union College, either in Los Angeles or perhaps American Jewish University, or what's that place called? AJR? Academy for Jewish Religion. So this is the beginning of life in Poland, important leadership. In a moment, you're going to meet a wonderful young lady, the mother of 7 children, who is an accomplished bassoonist and is a wonderful human being, Abigail Genius, who is part of the 12 people that we've trained to be involved in leading services. Until you have rabbis, the best thing is to have cantors. In fact, you may need the cantors more than you need the rabbis, because they reach people through song. And one of the wonderful things of being in a congregation in Poland is that people love music. And you've heard some of that music tonight. Music that speaks to us in the language of Yiddish, music that speaks to us in the language of Polish, which we don't understand, but we know is often connected to Jewish roots. And one of the fabulous things we've been involved with is the recovery of Jewish voices from Polish and Jewish music. And that is something that Menachem has worked on in terms of his composition, in terms of his translations. I have to say about this song, Margaritla, he played it for a group of Polish people, and they said, you know, we're pretty confident. We know Polish music. Where is this from? They said, well, it was originally in Yiddish. And they said, oh, it so much belongs in our culture, in the Polish language as well. One of the things that we've been involved with is the creation of a new prayer book, the first prayer book in Polish and in Hebrew since 1927. And that is a tremendous literary achievement because it represents the fact that we are trying to speak the language of most, and here I'm going to use a term that I hope will be understood correctly, Polish Jews. The culture of the Jews and the people who want to be Jewish in Poland is Polish. Unlike some of our grandparents and great-grandparents who came to this country, and their culture was the Yiddish world, sometimes the Hebrew-speaking world, but mostly the Yiddish world, and they were at some distance from Polish culture. Polish culture is the language of the emerging communities in Poland. Finally, I want to invite you to do two things. Every week, Mati Kirschbaum, who is the rabbinical student in Israel, and Menachem Mirsky publish the weekly Torah portion discussed in Polish or in English. You can choose whichever language you're most comfortable with. And this is the beginning of a literature that we're going to be publishing now every year of the collected sermons and addresses by these two rabbinic students, and we're very excited about this. The second thing I want you to do, actually there's a third, but let's do the second. Second thing I want you to do is consider joining me June 26th this year for a trip to Poland. Yes, we'll go to the places of memorial importance like Auschwitz and Majdanek, but I want you to experience the Polin Museum, which is a tremendous achievement, and basically is a gift from the Polish people in an attempt to come back into conversation with the Jewish people. I know that that conversation is on rocky grounds the last 2 weeks, but please understand that these things are ongoing and very significant, and the museum was paid for primarily by Polish taxpayers. Every high school student that is in Poland is required to spend at least 2 or 3 days during their high school years in that museum. I don't think we have anything parallel in American life vis-a-vis our relationship to African Americans or Native Americans, etc. Just to think about that. Finally, I want to invite you to participate in an activity that we all enjoy, watching film. On February 22nd, as part of the programs that we're doing with Wilshire Boulevard Temple, they're going to be showing a movie that I'm proud to say I was a producer on, called Bogdan's Journey. It's an important film because it doesn't answer all the questions, but again, it relates to something very important. This is the story, a documentary, about a Catholic psychologist by the name of Bogdan Beliak. He's not a relation, even though the name is very similar, it means the same thing, Beliak. Bogdan Beliak is the editor of an important journal in Poland called Caricatura, or it's the equivalent of Psychology Today. And this documentary follows a 10-year process in which he, living in the city of Kielce, begins a conversation about what happened July 4th, 1946 in Kielce. For those of you who don't know, July 4th, 1946, 42 Jews were murdered by Poles. And Beliak says we cannot simply not address this question. We must come back and think about what happened here. We must come to regret what our grandfathers did. And the film describes a very important part of the conversation that he develops in the city of Kielce. First with Poles, then with American Jews, and then with Israeli Jews as well. I hope that you'll come to Wilshire Boulevard Temple on February 22nd and see the movie, because it's part of the important work that we're doing in Beit Polska to develop a dialogue not only with people who are aspiring to connect to their Jewish roots, but with Polish culture and our relationship, those of us, 80% of us, who have Polish roots in our background. And those Polish roots represent a 1,000-year civilization that is not complete until we understand how we missed each other. And this conversation with Bogdan's journey is a part of that. We're also involved in translating a number of important books from English to Polish, and also from Polish to English. We'll be translating, for instance, Menachem Mirsky's dissertation, written already as a book from Polish to English, and will be out in about 2 years. I think what we're doing with these concerts, with the work of developing the new leadership in Poland, and with the sense of connecting to what will be a part of our future, there will be yet again a Polish community that will be a part of the world Jewish community. And we are very proud here at Congregation Beth Ohr to be a part of that process. I wish you all a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the concert, and we'll be available afterwards to meet you and greet you. Thank you.